This is Eugene Begay. It's Saturday, May 8th. And this is an interview with Michelle and Richard. And this is Voices of the Street. Eugene Begay as the one conducting the interview. And can you give me your full name?
Richard Albert Silas.
And can I get your name?
Michelle Lucille Cias.
And I've known you two for a while, and you two wound up getting married here in Chinatown. And can you give us just something fairly brief on how you guys got together, and then what happened in your lives, and then something changed your lives? So, Richard, you want to start off?
Yeah, I met Michelle here. I seen her sitting out here one day, and I just got to know her. I met her. I was introduced to her. I introduced myself to her, and she was a little mean at first because I guess she wasn't trustworthy of too many people. And I got to meet her, and I fell in love with her. And it's been a difficult road, but by the blessing of God, we've been blessed. We've been really blessed.
And what happened with you? You said you might have been a little mean.
I was reserved, and okay. I began talking with Richard, and he was a gentleman, and he was kind, and we spent a lot of time together talking and just sharing our stories together, and I fell in love with Richard, and he asked me to marry him, and I said yes, and we were married actually in the garden right here in Chinatown.
After how long of knowing each other?
About 3 months.
The women usually know. Down to the second.
About 3 months.
About 5 months.
5 months.
5 months.
We spent a lot of time together, and after about 5 months is when we actually we were married.
Okay, and Richard, something happened with you. So can you give us a little? You don't have to go into a lot of detail with it, but just give us a brief idea of what happened to you, what you were doing.
Well, I've been a heroin addict for 20 years, give or take, and I started trying to straighten out my life, and I went to school and completed a class in Santa Cruz, and I came to Salinas. My probation didn't allow me to continue my education in Santa Cruz, so they kind of forced me back into the mission, and that's where I met Michelle. And I went to school and I tried, staying clean, but being here in Chinatown, it was very difficult. And after we got married, I continued to use, and things were falling apart. Everything was falling apart. I couldn't keep a job. I had to have heroin. And Zachary was born, and as much as I wanted to stay clean, being here in Chinatown, around heroin, around my friends, the environment, it just wasn't working for me. And one day we made a decision to either pay the rent or continue my lifestyle, and we made the decision, both of us, to just drop everything, grab our clothes, our son, and catch a bus and go to Albuquerque, to New Mexico.
Now, did the addiction have an effect on the marriage at all?
Yes, it did. It had a negative effect on my marriage.
Right. And I see you two are still together. Why did you stick with him? Why didn't you kick him to the curb, as some women would? Mm-hmm. They wouldn't stick by their husband. They would just throw him out. What was it about him that made you decide to stick with him?
Well, I fell in love with Richard, not because he was a heroin addict, but the person that he was behind the addiction. And I knew Richard wanted to stop using heroin.
Well, don't they all say that?
There was, towards the end when we made the decision, there was a desperation in Richard's eyes that I was able to see, that he really needed to get out of the environment that we were in, and I knew that he was serious. We've had a lot of intimate conversations about his usage, and knowing Richard, and when he says something, he does mean what he says. And I knew that in his heart he really wanted to discontinue his lifestyle. And we talked about moving to New Mexico, and the decision was to actually say, if you don't, you're going to die. Something as terrible is going to happen. Besides maybe losing your wife, losing your child, you may be just losing your life. And this is not a life that you want to live anymore. And when we made that decision, he committed to what he promised, was to not use. And he wanted to be a successful person, and he wanted to stick by his word.
Now take me from there.
Well, like she said, I gave her my word, and we got to New Mexico, and we struggled for about the first 30 days when we were there, coming down off of heroin and wanting to bounce, jump right back on the bus and come back. And
How'd you get into the program?
we applied. We got
Oh,
there.
what was the name of the program?
Joy Junction.
What was it?
Joy Junction.
And do you know what their success rate is?
It's probably very low because 11 of us, well, out of 11 people that graduated, I think probably like 2 were successful. And they do graduations every 4 months, so you figure what that rate is. My class was 4 or 5 people, and maybe 2 are successes.
So did you have to pay for it, or was it
No,
free? Or
it was free. It was free. You had to continue. Had to work at the program itself. They paid you $25 a week
really?
to stay. They gave you a room, board. You didn't have to buy nothing. They gave you clothes, everything you needed, and money. I could have easily went and bought heroin or did what I want, but I was seeing that this program was really helping, and it wasn't necessarily the program. It was me. I wanted to change, and they were giving me that, stepping stone, and I am truly grateful for them.
Is there any one thing that sticks with you with the program more than anything else that you were super happy that you heard about? Like
Great.
something that was said to you that clicked?
I wouldn't say there would be something that was said to me. It was just the attitudes of the director, the pastor. He gave a lot of emphasis on trying to help people out, and not everybody there was for the help. They were just there for the meal, for the room. After their 9 months, they would leave, or they wouldn't. It wasn't something they were into. People were using drugs there. They were drinking alcohol, but it was more something, I guess, here that I seen that I didn't want to continue living on the street, especially because I had Zachary and I have Michelle to look after, and I've never been like that. I've never just totally gave up on myself, and I just made that decision.
So you had the desire not to lose something fantastic in your life.
Yes, because it's my second marriage, and my first marriage went downhill.
Was it because of drugs?
Yes.
Now, why didn't it save your first? What was it got you to do it here, but not at the other marriage?
I guess my first marriage wasn't a marriage out of love. It was more, I just did it because I just don't know. It wasn't out of love. It was just something that I did when I was younger. I mean, I love my kids. I have 2 other kids, older, and I love them to death, but it just, our relationship wasn't, you know, an act out of love. She had her purpose and I had mine. And she got what she wanted and I got my kids. I had 2 kids, and beautiful kids. And it just didn't work. It wasn't going to work.
So how long have you been clean now?
2 years.
Wow. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, and how do you feel right now about the way he is?
I'm happy. I'm very happy for Richard. I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for Zachary that we are all moving forward together.
So do you have any last words on any kind of advice on a woman that has a husband or a boyfriend that she hasn't, that someone in their life has an addiction, whether it be her or the other half? What you could say to maybe help them?
Wow. You know, it's every situation is different. Everybody has their own unique situation, and my advice would be that to really do a lot of soul searching and be honest with yourself to make that decision that would be best for yourself, and you have children involved. That as long as you're safe and your children are safe and you feel that there is hope to help your spouse or your partner with their addiction, that you can be there. And if you're blessed with a support system that can allow that, I would say to provide that support. But that would be just a case-by-case scenario. You have to really think about yourself, your safety for yourself and safety for your children. That would be the most important thing for a woman to really come to terms with.
Yeah, thank you. And you, Richard, what's your last words that can help inspire someone to make a change in their life?
Just do it. Just like Nike says, just do it, because if we wouldn't have done it, we wouldn't have just took that chance, I probably would still be here or be dead, and I wouldn't have my wife and my son with me. Just take that step and pray for the best. Ask God for help. He will help.
And I've known you two since you two got together, and there was a lot of times that I felt sorry for you, is because I knew some of what was going on, but I didn't know that much. And at that time, I felt like it was none of my business. But I am really proud of you guys that you worked through it.
Thank you.
And you changed your lives. And I hope that there's a lot of other people around here that are going through the same thing. And I hope they can go through a similar experience and change their lives around. So I want to say goodbye to you, Richard.
Thank you.
And Michelle. And what's your son's name? We got to make
Zachary.
a superstar, huh?
Zachary.
You gonna say something, Zachary? Say hello?
Say hi.
All right, have fun. This has been Eugene McGay from Voices of the Street.